Is there any chance that the moon isn't real? That instead of being a big ball of rock in the sky, it's actually something else? Some kind of artificial structure left here by aliens. So crazy. Well, it sounds insane. But let's take a look at what evidence there is for this shocking claim. The moon, our only natural satellite, is thought to have formed around 4.5 billion years ago, just like the Earth. But there are many aspects of it that don't really sit right. To begin with, the fact it can line up perfectly over the sun during an eclipse is quite odd, considering the moon is much smaller than the sun itself. It's about 400 times smaller, in fact, yet it lines up with it so well that it completely covers it up. This could suggest the moon was put into orbit around the Earth at the same time as the sun was created. Otherwise, given the random chance that it would align so well with the star, it would have to be 37 trillion to 1. And do we know what the chances of that are? Exactly 0. Either it always was, or it was put there by someone. Someone who knew exactly where the sun was so that when they placed the moon in orbit, it would fit perfectly in the sky above us. Not only that, but the moon makes our planet wobble on its axis by 23 degrees, which is huge. Our Earth wobbles around on its axis like a spinning top because of all the gravitational forces acting upon it. These forces stretch it a little bit from pole to pole and flatten it out around the equator. Scientists think this wobble is important because it causes climate change and affects weather patterns. They believe it should be wobbling around a lot more than it is now because of all the asteroids that hit the Earth. But it's not. It is stable, and this has led people to speculate that maybe it was put there deliberately so that we could survive. After all, too much wobble means unstable climates. Then there's this seismic ringing. When satellites orbiting the Earth were picking up strange seismic signals coming from the moon, scientists were shocked. The moon is dead. There shouldn't be anything happening beneath its surface. So they sent probes to investigate. What they found was that the entire moon is literally ringing like a bell when struck by meteorites. But why? Solid objects ring like bells when they're hit because their surfaces are vibrating at different frequencies. But the moon isn't solid. NASA's impactor probe crashed into the moon, and instead of smashing through its crust, it bounced off the surface. NASA said this was due to the impactor's shape. But how can an object bigger than a bus bounce off the surface of the moon if it S-starred? Unless the moon is hollow? But wait, there's more. NASA also admitted in 1968 that they had no idea where the material went that was supposed to have formed the moon. According to their theories, it should have been raining down on the Earth, yet nothing happened. It's missing. As for why the moon seems to have appeared in the sky after the Earth had already cooled, well, that's just dismissed as coincidence. But the fact is, this doesn't make sense. In reality, astronomers admit they have absolutely no idea how the moon formed. However, some scholars believe it was formed before the Earth. In fact, there are ancient myths and legends from cultures all over the world that say the same thing, that the moon wasn't always there, that it fell from the sky, or was brought here by otherworldly beings. These stories are so old that they must have come from a common source, something we've long forgotten. They all say the same thing. The moon didn't form at the same time as the Earth. So what if these myths are true? What if the moon was sent here, long after the Earth was formed, and perhaps it was sent by aliens? Maybe it's a machine designed to watch over us, to gather data. But that doesn't explain everything. Why does the moon still rise and set? Wouldn't it just hover in the sky? Well, according to experts, it should. You see, the moon is really far away, around 384,000 kilometers from the Earth. To be exact, it orbits around us at a speed of 27 days a year. That's pretty fast. If it slowed down, it would crash into the Earth. We'd be utterly crushed if it stopped moving altogether. But to keep it in place, it needs to be powered. It requires energy to stay in its orbit. If the moon is a machine, then it's clearly powered. It's unlikely that it's fueled by nuclear power. Otherwise, it would have long since exploded. It might be running on a type of energy we've never discovered, though, something that allows it to live for billions of years without ever needing to be or it may be connected to other devices positioned throughout the solar system. Some kind of vast network. Maybe this is why certain satellites can predict eclipses accurately. Maybe they already know when the moon will block the face of the sun. Maybe it's also why NASA keeps sending rovers to Mars to look for organic molecules. Because the truth is, we're not alone. Someone is out there watching us. But is the moon simply an alien observatory? Maybe it's nothing more than a sensor, a way for extraterrestrials to check up on the status of the Earth to see if we've developed in the way they want us to. Is that why there are no aliens? Because they're watching us. They're waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And what if it's not just a sensor? What if it's an energy receiver? Imagine the power supply for the entire Earth comes from the stars above us. We rely on the sun for energy now, but it won't last forever. In around 4 billion years, the sun will expand into a red giant, engulfing the Earth and destroying everything. But what if we had a backup plan? What if we could use the power of the universe itself to fuel our world? The moon is big enough that we could set up shop inside it and build a new home. We could cover its surface with solar panels, tap into its vast energy, and use it to power the Earth. This would mean we could live here forever, no matter what happens to the sun. And if the moon is a machine, it's likely that it has already been activated. It's already taking power from the sun and beaming it directly to the Earth. Of course, we'd never notice this unless we looked closely at the moon, and we have been looking closely at the moon. Satellite photos show a bleak, gray landscape. There's nothing up there but dust and rocks. But are we really seeing what's going on? Are we seeing the truth? Researchers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory have claimed that their high-resolution cameras have picked up weird details on the lunar surface. They're calling them anomalous aerial phenomena, or AO. Basically, they're unexplained things that seem to be flying across the lunar surface. In one image, researchers circled 3 strange objects they found. Others show long trails across the moon's barren surface, which they've put down to micrometeorites. But what are these strange flying things? Are they robotic drones sent back in time from the future, or are they just a trick of the light? Perhaps the most worrying part of all of this is that it is not just conspiracy theorists who believe the moon is fake. Many famous astronomers and physicists have come forward over the years and admitted that the moon doesn't make sense. Even Richard C. Hoagland, an astronomer for the U.S. Geological Survey, agrees that the moon's wobble is totally unnatural. It's artificially stabilized. And he knows this because he worked on the Ranger 7 mission back in the 1960s. A NASA mission that took the first pictures of the far side of the moon. Back then, Hoagland says, we saw clear evidence that the moon has an iron core, but now, 50 years later, that evidence has disappeared. He says NASA won't talk about it. In the end, it's up to you to decide what you believe. The moon is either a colossal space rock that formed at the same time as the Earth, or it's a fake. It's an alien megastructure built by a civilization beyond our understanding. Either way, it's fascinating. Do you believe in the moon? Is it real? Let me know your thoughts. And remember, until next time, keep thinking.